new age Vekoma roller coasters are finally making their way over to theme parks and amusement parks across the United States of America, the grand old USA. This could be a revolutionary fact for the theme park industry and the roller coaster industry, as Vekoma has quickly become one of the most popular and best manufacturers of roller coasters anywhere in the modern era. With a new wave of modern thrill and family coasters sweeping their way across attractions and parks throughout Europe and Asia, with the recent announcements of new Vekoma roller coasters coming to the USA such as Circuit Breaker and Good Gravy, it appears the new Vekoma roller coaster trend has finally swooped away across the world and into the promised land. So the question is, can Vekoma fulfill their American dream and start to add a new wave of thrilling coasters across parks throughout the country? Stick around to find out why this might be one of the most significant changes to the theme park industry in years. Welcome to Coasternaut, and if you enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe for future updates and news on American theme parks, and when we see announcements of new Vekoma roller coasters coming to the USA, because I'm sure there'll be plenty over the coming weeks, months and years, stick around to find out news updates regarding these new additions. So then, Vekoma used to be one of the most hated coaster manufacturers in the world in the 90s, with the company being known for their poor track profiling, horrific restraints, and many coasters throughout the world that cause riders unbelievable pain and headbanging. Their two most popular coaster installations are also probably their worst, or at least the most infamous coaster installations. I'm of course talking about the Vekoma Boomerang and the Vekoma Suspended Looping Coaster, or the Vekoma SLT for short. These coasters had some of the worst transitions and trains on any coasters in the world, and yet they seem to appear at parks all over the world throughout the 90s, especially in the USA, being placed at parks throughout the main two chains of Cedar Fair and Six Flags, although they were appearing at lots of smaller independent parks as well. With 53 installations of Vekoma boomerangs, and that doesn't include models like the giant inverted boomerang or family boomerang, and 42 installations of the suspended looping coaster, these coasters were appearing at parks all over the country. These were causing guests that were unfortunate enough to ride one of these coasters a massive headache for the rest of the day after riding one of these models. These coasters had relatively small footprints and were quite affordable, which are making them a great option for parks. They were super appealing, they were off-the-shelf models that didn't need to be designed, so companies didn't have to spend more money designing coasters, they could just buy these off-the-shelf cloned models, and chains such as Six Flags would buy loads of these to fill out their parks with cheap and easy recognisable coasters. For us enthusiasts, a cred was a cred. These coasters are definitely a one and done, get it for your credit list, but never ride them again. In the 2010s though, this all changed. Vekoma wanted to ditch their ways of being known as one of the least popular coaster manufacturers anywhere in the world, and they wanted to give themselves a new identity. They wanted to stand out amongst the crowd and be up there with the likes of Intamin, RMC and B&M as some of the most favourite and popular and best roller coaster manufacturers anywhere in the world. So what happened? New designers were hired at the Dutch coaster manufacturing company, and Vekoma completely redesigned their track design and their trains. This was with the aim of creating a new identity, wanting to prove themselves as world leaders in the thrill coaster market. They would start to add thrill coasters across the world to give guests an actually fun and memorable ride experience, rather than the experience that was noted on things like the SLC and the Boomerang. And the first notable coaster of these new wave of Vekoma coasters was Energylander's Formula. This was a Vekoma Space Warp, which is a unique and new launch coaster that used their new train and track design. This coaster had a layout full of graceful inversions, whippy transitions, and with some fantastic ejector airtime. Super intense coasters followed the installation of Formula, such as Lek Coaster at Legendia, and larger coasters also followed up these two smaller models, such as Phoenix at Farup Sommerland. These all featured their new trains and their new track design, and this wasn't long before we saw a redesign of their SLC model in the Suspended Thrill Coaster, or the STC for short. This gave a suspended coaster just a lap bar, which meant those whippy transitions and inversions that were felt on the sit-down models could be felt on an invert, and when doing things like inversions in the inverted position, that's hard to say, inversions in the inverted position, with just a lap bar, going upside down with just a lap bar, that was such a freeing and exciting experience and truly revolutionised the inverted coaster market. Vekoma didn't stop at just targeting the thrill market though. They created family and junior coasters such as the Family Boomerang model, which started with the first installation of Accelerator at Drayton Manor here in the UK, which was formerly known as Ben 10 when it opened. And this, alongside a new wave of their junior coaster models, gave Vekoma one of the most well-rounded coaster portfolios of any roller coaster manufacturer on the market today. This was competing with the likes of Intamin and B&M, RMC, Zampara. Like I say, when you compare Vekoma to all these companies, Vekoma truly had one of the best and most well-rounded coaster manufacturer portfolios on the market. This meant that pretty much all parks of any size could want a Vekoma roller coaster that could fulfill a thrill or family coaster gap in their lineup. Even Disney, the biggest theme park company and at least most well-known theme park company in the world, would continue to go to Vekoma throughout their bad and good history to create coasters at most of their parks. Recent installations such as Tron Light Cycle Run over at Magic Kingdom in the USA, or Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, and even the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad coaster that you can find at parks like Disneyland Paris. These were all designed by Vekoma. With these new wave of Vekomas being so good, it didn't take long for them to spread like wildfire and make installations of different models throughout parks, mainly in Europe, but also in Asia. And like I say, these are becoming more and more popular. Enthusiasts from the US are travelling all over the world and within Europe, within Asia, to go and experience some of these new wave of Vekoma modern roller coasters to see what all of the hype was about. However, many of these old-fashioned, rough Vekoma roller coasters were still plaguing parks across the USA, and probably because of this, the wave of Vekomas didn't make its way to the USA. However, that wasn't until very recently. The first new wave of Vekoma modern roller coasters have started to come to the USA over the previous few years. The first announcement was Circuit Breaker, a brand new Vekoma tilt coaster coming to the park at Cotaland in Texas, and this was a truly shocking announcement that brought one of the biggest and likely best thrill coasters in the world from Vekoma into the USA. Coming from a park outside of the big chains such as Cedar Fair and Six Flags, this made a shocking statement that more affordable coasters in comparison to brands like Mack and B&M will be just as good an option for smaller parks, providing just as good a thrilling ride experience. This announcement in 2022 has been followed up by a wave of announcements in 2023 of new Vekoma coasters coming to the USA. The first Vekoma coaster to be opened in the USA was just this year at Dollywood, which is Big Bear Mountain. This was a massive multi-launch family coaster that was the biggest investment in the park's history. Holiday World also announced the Good Gravy Family Boomerang coaster with super unique theming. Kings Island also announced Snoopy Soapbox Racers, which is another family boomerang coaster, and that's super important because Kings Island belongs to the Cedar Fair chain. With Cedar Fair starting to buy one of their family coaster models, this is likely, or at least has the potential, to lead to a package deal, because a lot of coasters end up, as well as flat rides, are bought by parks as part of a package deal. So with a family coaster being bought for Kings Island, maybe not just to Kings Island, but Cedar Fair could have struck a deal with Vekoma to bring some of their thrilling coasters to their parks throughout their chain in the future. So when you look at the Cedar Fair chain, and even other chains such as Six Flags or the SeaWorld chain, many of their parks could use some of their launch coasters, some could use the suspended coasters, and some could use their family coasters. So I can see chains like Six Flags, SeaWorld, Cedar Fair, and a lot of the independent parks that can't afford some of the other manufacturers like B&M, choosing to go with these modern Vekoma coasters due to the variety and affordability of them. I truly think the new wave of Vekoma has finally hit the USA, and can see these coasters starting to pop up more and more over the coming years at parks throughout the country. I think this will give parks far more choice in coaster types and models. Like I say, so many different models, one of the most unique and varied portfolios anywhere in the world. You know, they offer so many different family coasters and super small coasters for children, but some of the most intense coasters in the world, like Let Coaster for me, that is probably the most intense coaster I've ever experienced. That first drop into those first inversions, you are just greying out, if not blacking out, at every twist and turn, and it features some of the most intense airtime ever seen on any coasters. So with these coasters becoming more affordable, like I say, I think now that the first few have started to go to the USA, more and more parks and chains will see that these coasters have been built, they have fantastic reliability and aren't too expensive and can be really well themed as well, and therefore I think parks might start just to choose these coasters over the more well-known brands such as B&M and Mack. But what do you guys think on this topic? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comment section down below. What do you make of the new Vekomas that have already been announced for the USA? Are you excited for them, or do you think parks should be sticking to their ways and going with the classic B&M Intamin, RMC and other manufacturers that are more common over in the USA than in Europe and Asia. Could this be super impactful for the theme park industry to have these Vekoma coasters to the USA, or do you think it doesn't really matter if the Vekomas that are newer here in Europe and Asia didn't make their way over to the USA? If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, it really does help out the channel. Subscribe to Coasternaut for more videos in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.